Welcome back, Nerdiverse. This is MOTN lore, and we're here to talk about an item of lore that you, the Nerdiverse, has chosen to be under our watchful eye. Today, we're going to be discussing one of the most popular metals of all time. Get ready to talk about adamantium. Today, I am joined with one of my favorite people on Earth, the man we call Wash. What's going on, sir?
Yo, what up? I am here and I am ready to talk a tad bit of Marvel Metal with you. There are quite a few metals in the world. Is antimantium one of them?
Like in real life, or like in
Yes,
the
in
Marvel
real
universe?
life.
Well,
I'm j-
you ask some people, they will tell you yes. Some people legit think adamantium's real. If you ask them like on the street, you know what I'm saying? This stuff is that popular that people think it's just part of the periodic table or something.
You know what? I wish it was. I really do. It's one of those things that could be real.
That's
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It could be real. And in fact, it may be real. But
We just don't know. That's for other eyes, dog. That's that secret metal the F-16 bombers are made of, dog. The real adamantium. Yeah, we're gonna be
oh
talking
man.
about one of my favorite things in the world, which is X-Men. My second favorite thing is Wolverine. My third favorite thing is adamantium, the metal that is bonded to this man's skeleton and made popular through the X-Men. Before we jump into the origins of adamantium, what's your history with this metal? When's the first time you remember hearing the word adamantium?
I mean, I couldn't tell you that. I just knew it was attached to Wolverine and it made Wolverine indestructible, which is kind of a falsity, in general as your young brain hears it and sees it. I will tell you that it's easy to want adamantium. And folks, I'm gonna keep mispronouncing. Is there Adam at AT? Can I shorten this thing up? Is there a shortener in the comics that they have for it? They
Sadly, no. You have to say the whole thing.
they're like, no, this 5 syllable
This
word.
13
Yeah, you
syllable
keep
word,
doing it, keep
Mr.
doing it.
Mitzel
But
Pitlick. You know.
when it comes to not necessarily the metal, but the character Wolverine, it became a lot less desirable once I realized it hurt him coming out. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that all day, every day. That shit hurts.
Every single time. That's what he said in the first X-Men movie. Does it hurt? That's what Rogue asked him. He said every single time. Like
Every
Jesus.
single
Well,
time.
that's why he winces
Yes.
when he pops the claws. He's not mad. He's just like crap, shit,
Yes, dude.
ow.
And
Because
it's like, let's fight, Bob. And it's like you're like, no.
imagine
Ugh.
your skin trying to grow around it all the time until it
Oh,
goes back
dude.
and it just heals. So your skin is trying to crawl up it to heal. Like the logistics of Wolverine don't make sense. But
Not really.
I I think the first time I heard the words adamantium was like during like the X-Men animated series. You know what I mean? Like back in the 90s. And in my head, all I can hear is Mr. Sinister say, adamantium, adamantium. As they covet Wolverine's skeleton for some reason, because it's made out of the most indestructible metal on Earth. And we're going to talk about that because adamantium's, I think, and we mentioned this in passing, I think adamantium is probably one of the most popular minerals in popular culture, up there with kryptonite and I can't even think of another metal that stands up with adamantium. You know what I mean? It's like fake mineral. You know what I mean? Like unobtainium from the core. Remember the core?
The Core, like the movie The Core?
Yeah, where they had to dig to the
Yeah.
core of the earth.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The ship was made of
That was like,
unobtainium, dog.
is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
that was
stupid
a
fake
terrible
metal.
movie.
Great metal.
um,
The terrible movie.
but maybe up on the MOTN X poll, we should ask the question: what's the most popular metal? Maybe adamantium, maybe a little kryptonite. I don't know. Some verses.
Some verses. Hey, we're going to be doing verses on Random Select coming to you soon from MOTN.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the origins of adamantium. The origins of adamantium are quite all over the place. On one hand, it was created by the Celestials. On the other hand, it's always been here, but just in a kind of like less concentrated form. But the most popular origin starts in World War I, where Captain America's shield is created for Weapon One, which is Steve Rogers, and they kind of accidentally made adamantium in making Captain America's shield, which was a mix of a bunch of different metals. It was a mix of vibranium, steel, iron, and just a bunch of stuff they had. And what happened is once Captain America went on ice, they kept trying to reduplicate the super soldier program. So that's where you get Weapon 1, Weapon 2, Weapon 3, all the way up to Weapon 10, which is X, which is Wolverine. And somewhere along those early lines, one of the scientists trying to replicate Cap's shield accidentally made adamantium the most unbreakable, like unstoppable metal known to man. And I just want to kind of get your ideas on just that origin, like that the idea of that.
I'm a huge fan of the origin of it simply because it's not a found product, it's a made product within the universe. Found products can be duped, and this, yes, found products can be duplicated. You know what I mean? Like you're wandering down the street, we found this, we found that. But in a lab, for adamantium to have been made in a lab accidentally with only a certain number of people knowing the secret formula, the militaries being one, it makes it such a interesting plot point for other characters who are aspiring to do things within the universe. So it leaves open some ability to tell some new stories if you want to, simply because it's coveted.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I mean? It's not we're going to take over a planet down in Wakanda or a country down in Wakanda and just drill it. It's coveted. It's like, oh no, you have to take this from me if
yeah,
you want this.
it's a finite amount of it that we've
Hmm.
created, and we really don't know what the hell we did. So, but we have it. And this is the amount we have. Let's use it. Everyone wants it. It's the most coveted outside of like vibranium, which can be sought, which can be. Oh, we know it's over there. The only problem is getting through Wakanda. Good luck with that. But
But
adamantium.
we know where it is.
But we
You
know
know
where
what
it
I mean?
is. Adamantium could be anywhere. You know what I mean? And it's honestly, we'll get to the people who use adamantium, but adamantium's like one of the kind of like seediest metals. Like all the villains want adamantium for their own nefarious reasons, and everybody kind of misuses it. You know what I mean? And it's like one of the most coveted things on Earth that's constantly in the comics and spread all through Marvel, not just through the X-Men. So yeah,
When doing the research, I had not realized that it was essentially planted by the Celestials, which, you you think back on it, and this isn't that podcast, but you really wish that Marvel can clean up this whole thing because it's kind of cool and it's really messy in real life. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
moving
it's
on.
no, and we didn't even mention the MCU explanation of adamantium, which is apparently like the blood of the celestial. Or I see the thing is, I know they talk about adamantium in the new Captain America movie, Captain America and Brave New World, but I didn't see it. You know what I mean? I skipped it. But I wish I could speak more to the MCU origins of this thing. But like I mentioned at the very start of this particular panel, it's all over the place where this stuff actually comes from. This MacGuffin, and that, like you said, it would be so nice if the MCU kind of had this at the forefront, but for legal reasons and for whatever, adamantium is just we're just getting it now at the end of all things.
At
Right.
the end of all things, when
So
it was literally at the beginning.
yeah, and adamantium's been here the whole time. Celestials,
Yeah,
like caveman, protozoa, you know what I'm saying, the
you're
whole
right.
time. So it's just It would have made more sense if adamantium been sprinkled throughout the MCU since Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Perfect.
sure.
So I wanted to talk about adamantium in application, like how it's normally used. You know what I mean? How it's manufactured. And how it's distributed throughout the MCU.
I mean, is it work time? Are we talking supply chain?
But yeah, man.
The economics of adamantium brought to
No, we
you
were
by
no, we were.
MIT.
We've been playing like Starfield. What was it? A game called Starfield.
Yes,
I, wa-
Starfield, yeah.
I was half. Well, I was half about to be like, what if we discover adamantium on some random ass planet? That'd be fucking. That'd be so sick. And I could have the
That
mod.
kind of makes you want to go back.
Yeah, like it's got to be out there somewhere, right? It's gonna be on some random generated planet. It's got to have adamantium, right? But no, it's like adamantium is such a malleable property that it's used in a multitude of different ways. The most popular way is through Wolverine's branded armor, adamantium skeleton, where and they talk about this in X2, X Men United. He's like, the only time you can adjust adamantium is once it's cooled at its molten state. I mean, once it's liquid at its molten state. That's the only time adamantium can be forged or manipulated. But once it hardens, that's it. There's no melting it back down. There's no, you know what I'm saying, reconstituting it. It's indestructible. It can't be broken. And in Wolverine's case, what's funny is that they had once they discovered adamantium, their first thought was let's just throw it in their body, right? This is weapons 2 through 10, right? And every time they tried to put adamantium in someone, they just died. Body couldn't handle it. They couldn't take to the adamantium bonding process. Mind you, this is multiple super soldiers. This is other mutants. The Weapon Plus program was kind of gnarly, even though they were kind of built to be this good guy organization. Weapons Plus up in Canada, they weren't playing no games. They were like taking out thousands upon thousands of test subjects, normal man to mutant to superhero alike throughout the years. And they find this Canuck named James Howlett who just regenerates from everything. The guy can't die. Let's try it on him. And then he becomes the titular Weapon X, the brainwashed super soldier, the unstoppable killing machine. And the claws were just a byproduct of the experiment because according to Origins, the origin of Wolverine, he always had claws. He had bone claws. So the
Bone claws.
that he had hidden that we didn't know because originally in the old '90s origin, the claws came with the Weapon X program. Wolverine didn't have bone claws originally. He didn't have claws at all. And it was just like, okay, we just throw some claws on him. But they retconned that like in the 2000s with Origins, where apparently Wolverine was born with bone claws because his memory loss and all that fun Wolverine stuff where he could remember who he was from like his creation until 2000. And when he got his memories back, that's when they said no, Wolverine's had claws the whole time. But I really want to talk about like how it's used and like how just really how versatile it is because and we'll talk about the users of adamantium, but it goes from Wolverine to of course all the other Weapon X's like X-23 has adamantium, but it's not her whole arm. It's not her whole skeleton. It's just the claws. Even Cap's shield has bits of adamantium in it. So curious about your thoughts just on the logistics of the application.
Well, talking about the supply chain of it all, I find that it's very interesting that no, that they only used or they only bonded it to one human skeleton.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
fully.
that for the rest, for the rest of, for the rest of the uses for from my knowledge, you know what I mean? The X-23s and the other characters we'll mention in a bit. It's mostly an add-on, an extension. I find it interesting that it's not used more in application of vehicle. You know what I mean? Because it's fairly damn indestructible, but it's not really used like that. So how they've chosen to use it is almost as just an extension of an add-on to your character's ability, with the exception of Wolverine, where they're like, "No, you get the whole damn skeleton."
Yeah, it's part of you. Yeah,
Yes,
there's no taking
yes.
this off. You know what I'm saying? That's clever what you mentioned about like putting it on a vehicle, putting it on a plane, on a jet. Why not, right? And it's funny, and I can't wait till we get to the users of it because so many people use it in different various ways, and I like just the idea that Wolverine was the golden child, the golden calf, who could just be, body reborn almost in adamantium.
In application, is this a wanted product within the Marvel corporate and villain universe where they literally sit around and they're like, man, if only or how do we get our hands on some adamantium?
All the time. There's so many storylines of Oscorp, Roxxon, um, Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM. Everybody seeks out adamantium because
So
it's
the
the
US
stuff.
military is the only entity per se to manufacture and produce adamantium.
Not at all. It technically it would be the Canadians
Canadians, pardon me.
with the X-20 with the Weapon X program. They were able to get their, because it was kind of born there. They were able to get the most of it, and it kind of distributed from that experiment. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There isn't a giant lab out there pumping out adamantium. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned earlier, kind of like LSD, how it's made by accident. Like they got this stuff and they only have a finite amount, and it gets spread out through the MCU. It gets exchanged, so to speak. So it's up there with like getting an Infinity Stone. You know what I mean? It's like this is on the black market. Adamantium goes for quintillions of dollars
Yeah.
because it's only so much out there, and Wolverine's a walking example of what this stuff can really do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I, that's all you need for a poster boy. You know what I mean? It's like, I got a Wolverine. Okay, we'll buy it.
We'll buy it, dude. Speaking of Wolverine, I know we've talked about it
Speaking
a
of
bit.
which,
Yeah, the birth of Weapon X, man. We've been talking about it. But really, I want to have a slide just kind of really dedicating it to the practitioner of adamantium, Logan himself, going through the Weapon X program, being brainwashed to be a killing machine, snapping out of that, X Flight finding him be trying to be a legit superhero, and Charles Xavier finds him, and the rest is history, right? But him having to be that final weapon during his time frame, because it's hard to really gauge when Weapon X happened because Wolverine is immortal. So that this, I believe it happened around the birth of the X-Men, like when um, Jean Grey was Marvel Girl and Cyclops and Beast were running around before he got mutated. So I think this was all going around that back in the day, and Wolverine wasn't discovered until the X-Men like 70s. You know what I mean? Like when the new class showed up with Storm and Nightcrawler and Colossus. Um, so Wolverine being part of that kind of like experiment, as you mentioned, the U.S. government being on loan from Canada, kind of to be a part of that process. Because I think now that I think about it, it was like a joint thing between the U.S. and Weapon X program, which was in Canada. So, and that's where you get
come
the
on,
whole.
you know that the U.S. Army. I mean, you can't do this thing without the U.S. Army.
Yeah,
Like the entire thing falls apart. Why? I don't know, but that's just the way the story's written. You know what I mean? Like the Hulk, all of it. It. You take the U.S. Army out of Marvel, and it's like,
a lot of stuff
what
doesn't
happened?
happen. Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you mentioned that, but it's funny the experiment that Bruce Banner was working on when he turned into the Hulk was part of the Weapon X program. It's part of the Project Rebirth. You know what I mean? So it all ties to adamantium in a weird way. Like you can pretty much do like eight. What is it? 8 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 6 degrees of Kevin
Yes.
Bacon. You could do 6 degrees of adamantium with any character in the Marvel universe, and you'll find a
You
connecting
just
through
called it
line,
antimanium, so I don't feel bad.
sir. It's a long night. All right. Try saying it.
Like, put a counter in the corner. That'd be awesome.
Try saying that 5 times fast, Doug. You're just not gonna do it. So this slide is an ode to Wolverine, the OG, the man who pretty much gave made Adamantium a household name. And I also want to talk about the X-Men movies, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, and X-Men Origins, which really dive into Wolverine and the importance of adamantium. Really, X-Men Origins, for as bad as that movie is, gives us the closest look on adamantium, how it's utilized, how it grants Wolverine in weird ways superhuman strength. It increases his endurance, but it also cuts back on his healing factor because his body is constantly rejecting it, so he can't heal as fast as he normally could. But that's something they don't really talk about, is that how it's kind of a plus and a minus. It's a weapon plus and a minus.
Are there no other fully regenerative characters cruising around Marvel they can't stick this thing on?
They tried with Sabretooth, if I remember correctly, because Sabretooth has always been like the number one choice from everybody, because Sabretooth's bigger, stronger, has more faculty than anybody else. And I don't think it took for Sabretooth for some reason. They tried to mold it to Deadpool, wouldn't work. You know what I'm saying?
It has, for it not to be a living entity, it has a very Spawn-like quality to it. You know what
That's a
I
good
mean?
pull.
It really does.
It
And
chooses who can take it.
100%.
That is such a good
100%.
pull. Now that I think
So,
about it, it's like, could X-23 have taken all of it? Would it bond? Say bond like a symbiote, right? Would it bond to Daken, son of Wolverine? Would it bond to the Incredible Hulk? There's that one character. Remember that stupid character that was a mix of Hulk and Wolverine that actually had adamantium bonded to him?
oh God, yeah.
It's an ugly. It's so stupid. It came out like in the late 2000s. I
As
forget the name.
as that all did.
It was called like Weapon 10,000 or something bullshit. But that thing was able to take it. And the only other character, and we can go into users of adamantium, that
There we go.
the only non-mutant that's actually had adamantium bonded to them is Bullseye from Daredevil. We talked about that during MOTN Live Friday night, 6 o'clock. See you there. And what happened with him was after Daredevil broke his spine for killing Elektra, they put an adamantium spine in his back so that no matter what, that's never happening again. So he actually has an adamantium lumbar on top of being just one of the most insane, assassins of all time. And I'd like to talk about the users of adamantium that are less conventionary. You know what I mean? Like Iron Man has adamantium armor hidden somewhere that he only breaks out every once in a while.
I mean, that would make sense. He would be, and again, you go back to the origins, and it's like, how did Stark not figure out what this formula is? The formula is so dirty that
Yeah,
that even like Stark couldn't like suck out the formula. So I think that's fascinating. But
like
for me, as far as users go, and I'm gonna be straight up honest, I'm gonna show my cards here. Look, I did not. I like Alpha Flight. I'm a huge Alpha Flight fan. When you talk about Canada, in fact, when I was doing the research for this, and we're talking about Weapon X, and we're talking about Canada, I was really surprised Alpha Flight's name didn't get brought up at some point in time. That
mhm.
said, Lady Deathstrike is freaking awesome, and I say that from Marvel Snap. Purely
Marvel Snap doing the
freaking
gods.
awesome.
Marvel Snap doing God's work. You know what I mean?
Yes, man.
You wouldn't know names like Lady Deathstrike and Luna Snow. You know what I'm saying? You just wouldn't. Marvel
It,
Snap.
no. So out there doing the Lord's work. So that is awesome to me when I found out her claws are
Adamantium.
adamantium, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense, and that understands why she busts everything up, man. Even though
Yeah.
they do need to raise that.
Yeah, go
three a
ahead.
little bit.
Yo,
Moving on.
hash, hashtag buff lady Deathstrike, dog. She needs
But
to she needs to do more damage, dude. But no, it's like adamantium. It's so sparsely used in the MC in Marvel, but also everywhere. Like every single major group has interacted with it on some point. Doctor Octopus once had adamantium tentacles to fight
yes.
Spider-Man for a while. We mentioned
Which also makes sense. There's some of these things that make sense, but as MacGuffin, as you call it, it's almost like we can't do this. It overpowers.
quick, and it's taken away quickly.
Hmm.
Like Ultron had an adamantium body at some point, which is godlike and just wiped the floor with everybody. They had to take him out of effect. You know what I mean? Like it's adamantium spread all through the MCU, and it's just kind of like you blink and you miss it. Like even in Deadpool and Wolverine the movie, they gave Deadpool adamantium katanas. You know what I mean? And it's just like that's canon as well. He once got adamantium katanas. Elektra has had adamantium size. You know what I mean? Like it is like these are characters that have nothing to do with the X-Men. You know what I mean? Nothing to do with the Weapon X
No,
program.
they're just like, oh no, this thing can break through whatever, so I need it because I slice and dice things.
So
It
I
would make
need it.
sense that you know what I mean? Iron Fist being like, yeah, man, I want you to take my hand and cover it in antimanium.
Please. Give
Antimanium.
Ching is another one.
Yeah,
Take a
go on.
take a drink every time you ruin adamantium, dog.
Right?
You will be blitzed by the end of this episode. Um nah man, it's just adamantium's so much fun only because it's like the secret sauce to a lot of heroes, mostly villains that have used adamantium. And I'm trying to think of other instances where it's popped up, and that's pretty much it from my Nerdiverse knowledge. Are those major characters? I do know, and I would like to go into kind of like I know we're kind of just speeding through this one, but I wanted to go over just for fun adamantium versus vibranium, and
For fun.
just for fun, just because we're talking about the lore of it, and it's like these are the two most like powerful metals in the Marvel universe, you know, outside of like space shit, like whatever Silver Surfer's made out of, things like that. We don't count that. That's not fair, you know what I mean? But in regards to like sought after metals, adamantium versus vibranium, what are you taking in this fight? The metal that is that is indestructible, or the ore that can absorb anything and doesn't take damage?
I have to take vibranium because of the kinetic, the kinetic
Property of it.
yeah, property of it. You think about that shot. I can't remember which movie because Lord knows there's been enough now. But the bullet goes, it hits, and it just absorbs all of the energy from it, and it's like, nah, man, that's what's needed. Don't get me wrong, adamantium's cool, but mm, I'd rather not feel it.
Yeah, I'd rather not feel it. Wolverine feels all of it. That's his problem. You
All
know, that
of it,
that's his
right?
big. That's his major problem. But adamantium's. It's funny. I would take adamantium because there's a breaking point to vibranium. You can only absorb so much energy before it pops, and then it kind of temporarily weakens Black Panther. It's happened before. Happened in the movies. You know what I'm saying? Like if Juggernaut was to sock the Black Panther full force in his chest, he's gonna absorb 90% of that, but that 10 is gonna get him, and it may take him out the game. Whereas there's only so many things that can touch adamantium in the Marvel universe outside of like Galactus or the Molecule Man or
Mhm.
like Franklin Richards. I'm talking about multiversal cosmic scale intervention. It's the only thing that really even budges this stuff once it's hardened. Wolverine has scratched Thanos. He's cut Captain America's shield. You know what I mean? He's pierced the Hulk multiple times. So it's like if this stuff is in the right hands, it's damn near impossible to defeat. You know,
And
Thor's
Thor Wolverine is a thing, isn't it? Another
Mew
word I
Mew.
can't say.
Meow
No,
Meow.
Meow meow. Uh, like so, there's not another weapon really. If you were
outside
just putting them
of
up like
like Thor's
like
hammer.
sword fighting, yeah, that, and I'm
But that
not
doesn't
sure
count.
Thor's hammer.
That doesn't even count because that's Uru. That's not even, that's space metal. That's a whole other can of worms there. Like, I don't think Wolverine can slice through
Street
Thor's hammer.
level, no. Okay.
Yeah, anything that's terrestrial, nothing's messing with adamantium. That's why it's so sought after. You go into
Yeah.
space, even then, there's certain things that can't. Like, I don't think Wolverine can scratch Thor's hammer. I don't think that's ever happened. And Thor's hammer can't shatter adamantium because they've tussled in the
They
past.
tried that.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work. It's just adamantium. Like you said, it was kissed by the Celestials. This stuff.
Yes, in research I was they had a vial of adamantium and they let Thor hit it with his hammer and it did nothing.
Yeah,
It
that's what
was
I'm
like,
saying. It
yeah,
it takes
try
people who
again.
can break down atoms. You know what I'm saying, like Dark Phoenix type stuff. Um, or and we're gonna allude to it with our importance to the lore. People who can manipulate metal, which is why Wolverine's best friend is Magneto, who completely owns him every single time they meet. Because
Vicious
what are
scene.
you gonna do? And we're gonna get to Fatal Attraction, which is probably the only time adamantium has been made to look like a joke. You know what I mean? In the entirety of comic book history, is that fight against Wolverine where he had enough. But if adamantium versus vibranium, mind you, they have their strengths. Vibranium, I hate to say it, is more like we talked about earlier. It's easier to access because there's a whole damn country full of it, and if you're sneaky enough and clever enough, you can get a hold of it too. But adamantium is like, you know what I mean? It's like that rare shiny Pokemon. You're not gonna just come across it. You know what I mean? You gotta know people who know people who know people who know people, and then talk to the kingpin who knows somebody. You might get like a vial and figure
A
out something.
vial, a
Yeah,
small vial.
for $1 trillion
And
dollars. You know.
and this is what I'm saying. They have so much room to run with this idea if they wanted to, because it's not completely overused. And when you stop and think about it, it's like Ultron. If he had a bunch of Ultrons covered in
How
adamantium,
do you lose?
game over.
How do you lose?
Game over.
Like some people have adamantium bullets. You know what I mean? I think the Punisher. You know what?
Mm,
Someone we didn't mention, Hawkeye has adamantium tipped arrows to take down the heavy hitters. We don't pull those out
yeah.
unless it's literally the super scroll is here or something crazy, or ruin the executioner or something wild.
He's like, the Hulk is after me, and I am not gonna win this fight.
Bam, right to the dome
I
piece.
got
It'll slow him
no
down.
shit.
It'll slow him down a little bit. So yeah, like adamantium
I like
is
that.
versus vibranium. If you were to ask me who would win on a fight between Black Panther and Wolverine, I'd probably take Black Panther because Black
I was
Panther is
actually gonna
busted.
take Wolverine. I
Ooh,
was actually gonna take
let's
Wolverine.
talk about it. Let's
Simply
talk about it.
look, I think that's interesting that you take adamantium, I take vibranium, but then I'm gonna take Wolverine and you're gonna take Black Panther. Like it simply comes down to durability. Durability, and I can just see both of them being bloody and Wolverine being like, "Yeah, bub, let's go." And
I'm
it's
just getting
like
warmed up.
with the with the skeleton, it's gonna give him that extra just length and durability to outlast Black Panther.
You see, and Black Panther's kind of not fair because Black Panther is equal parts Captain America, equal parts Tony Stark, equal parts Doctor Strange because he has the whole magic thing going on top of the vibranium, and equal parts
Oh,
Batman. You know what I mean? So it's like if these two were to fight, I think Black Panther would figure out a way to immobilize, Wolverine. Like he's not going to beat him through brute force. He's going to have to outsmart him, outthink him, out in he's faster than Wolverine. I would at least think, based on
Yes, that I would give you. Yes, I would think that we're splitting hairs when we talk fast because the Wolverine's still going to be
fast as fuck.
fast,
Yeah,
but
he's.
right, but Panther's got him.
I think Panthers got him. If they were just a straight up like brawl, just duke it out, fighting game style, Wolverine's gonna win because who's gonna beat Wolverine in that? He just can't stop. He never gets tired. His stamina never goes low. You know, there's this great scene where Daredevil's trying to fight Wolverine, and like you said, they get bloodied, and Daredevil's like, I just can't keep up. Wolverine is like dancing, like I can do this all day, pretty boy. And he just heals up like nothing happened. And Daredevil's like, you got it, man. You got it, dog. All right. We can talk. We can
I
talk.
could
Let's
do
talk.
this all day,
Yeah.
and that's yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So interesting fight.
Interesting fight. Importance to the lore. Now, this is tricky because I was at first going to say, let's do lore based upon the Marvel universe, all lore. And I think that's not fair because there's a lot going on in Marvel universe, and this may not be as big as a deal as the Super Soldier Serum or as big as a deal as, I'm saying, the birth of the Fantastic Four or, what I'm saying? But let's limit the lore to the X-Men based upon X-Men lore. How important is it to Charles Xavier, Magneto, polarizing forces, X-Men, equality, mutants, all that stuff? Just what are your thoughts on that? Should we base it on the Marvel comics or simplify it to the X-Men?
I like what you did there with simplifying it down to the X-Men, but we started by saying, and I don't know if this is this one or not, top 2 or top 3.
In
You know what
popular
I
culture,
mean?
right.
In popular culture. So, to take it down to just X-Men kind of limits that a little bit
Okay.
for its power. You know what I mean? So,
You make a
for
point.
me, I would say the whole kit and
The
caboodle
whole
because we put it
enchilada.
up against the whole enchilada, except for Captain Marvel. We know, as you said, uh, t- extraterrestrial is going to beat terrestrial all day, every day. So being reasonable about it, I would say yes, you have to put it to the whole universe as a whole.
Perfect. Let's talk about it. So, pitting adamantium up against, mind you, objects of lore, not necessarily lore in general. So, keeping in mind Thor's hammer, Iron Man's armor, Spidey's web shooters, for that matter. Just across the Marvel universe, how important is adamantium to the grand scheme of things?
I think, and what are we? 1 out of 5? Is this how we do this? Top being the 5.
Oh yeah, but
Those 10, 15, 14 days go by so quick. I'm like, what? How do we score this thing again?
no, we're gonna save that for the power rankings though. For the power
Oh,
rankings that
the important. Oh shit! All right, we're not there yet.
yeah,
Okay, the
not there
importance of
just
the
yet.
Lord. Oh,
Importance to the lore.
okay. I was all right. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's pretty dang high, and the reason I say that is not. Uh, Unfortunately, Adamantium is tied with Wolverine. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's
yeah,
hard to separate the two
the
of
two.
them. So in that instance, if you're telling me that Adamantium is gone now, and thus Wolverine is no longer part of the landscape, I think that changes how many things ultimately play out within the universe. So I'm going to say the importance is kind of high. It also changes some motivations of some folks like Mr. Sinister, who you mentioned earlier.
Adamantium. It's funny you mention the importance, how important the X-Men are, how important Wolverine is, because I think the biggest flaw, no matter how much money the MCU made, how many billion-dollar movies it produced, all we were ever asking, from I am Iron Man to I am Iron Man, is where are the X-Men? Where is Wolverine? Where is Cyclops? Where is Storm? And it's almost like this 800-pound elephant in the room of the MCU that's been on the back of all of our minds, and you feel that emptiness when they're not there. The X-Men should have been in Endgame. The X-Men should have been in Infinity War. You know what I mean? The X-Men should have been in the MCU this whole time. It would have enriched that journey so much more if Wolverine was there, if Adamantium was there, if the claws were there. Like, so many fans missed that out to a point where there's a whole generation who are like, who are the X-Men? And that's sad, dude. You know what I mean?
I'm going to take it one step further than what you're saying and like piggyback on it. It's so popular that they brought them back.
Kicking and screaming.
They're like, nah, everybody's got to come back because it's what's missing. We're not talking about that new school. They're like, no, we need the X-Men back. And trust me, we went through a reiteration of X-Men already. Guess who they aren't bringing back? The new X-Men. Guess who they are bringing back?
The
original X-Men.
And let's not get it.
That's how important.
How important to the lore? How important to the dollar? Let's talk about that. And I want to bring up that Disney spent how many $1 billion to buy Fox? Because they understood the importance of bringing these people back into the fold. Mind you, Fox is a big company. But The Simpsons haven't necessarily changed the zeitgeist or Alien versus Predator. No, they spent that money to get these guys back, to get Wolverine back. And they were never going to do it otherwise. We were going to get crappy X-Men movie after crappy X-Men movie. Dark Phoenix, like you mentioned, nobody cared. They spent like $2.6 billion to secure the shining light of Marvel. And it's been like that since the 90s, dude. It's
like 30 years old, bro. Like, what?
So like,
yeah.
You ask me how important they are to the lore, how important Adamantium is to the lore. It's pretty damn important. And Marvel has proven it time after time again that once they got these guys, they couldn't wait to use them, to sprinkle them through the MCU. They've been chomping at the bit to get them to us. And we just saw in that damn Charathon that they're bringing everybody back. The Charathon. So I hate the Charathon. So it's like, I think Adamantium is pretty damn important, not just to arms manufacturers, not just to multiple companies within Marvel, not even just to Wolverine, but to the landscape of Marvel Comics.
And I mean, Brave New World, like it.
Oh, I think we lost Brian for this live, so we're just gonna get him back going real quick, fast, and in a hurry.
A Brave New World, it is a centerpiece to the story, so they know how important Adamantium is to not only their vision but to the lore in general.
Yeah, 100%. Brave New World, from my understanding, that is like I mentioned earlier, the MacGuffin to the entire story, and as it should be, because Adamantium's a big deal, and Wolverine is probably on the Mount Rushmore of Marvel characters. You know what I mean? To a lot of people, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Venom, Captain, Venom's a big one.
Yeah, I'm just talking like when you talk like the big three and big four, and we're going way off like the lore of Adamantium right now. But like Venom, like do you remember 1990 when Venom shirts?
You couldn't get enough of Venom
everywhere.
They made Maximum Carnage, bro. Apropos of nothing, no movie was coming out. No, they made a Maximum Carnage game so you could play as Venom. You know what I'm saying? And like you said earlier, Wolverine is Adamantium. Adamantium is Wolverine. And that's why Adamantium is now a household name. Like I was saying, people think this shit is real because they just think, oh yeah, that's part of the periodic table. Adamantium, Wolverine has it, right? Yeah, you just can't get it. Wolverine has it, right? You just can't get it. And you're just like...
You know that's not real, don't
You
you?
know that's not real, dog. Nah, man. I was in science class in the third grade, and we were talking. We had to do a report on adamantium. Like it's busted, dog. Like this stuff
Yeah.
is it's a it's up there with damn it's up there with damn cream of wheat, dog. Pepsi, Pepsi, Coke, adamantium, dog. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Where am I? Points to the lore, power ranking. My thing got all
There
mixed up
we
there.
go.
Lore, power ranking. So let's rank this bad boy. I'll start with you, Wash. Where are you ranking this on from 0 to 5 claws?
On the cover, I think it's very easy to look at adamantium and just uh, it's metal, like it's in Wolverine, and like move on. But when you dig into adamantium, who's the people surrounding adamantium, especially the big power players who have ruined thousands of lives trying to experiment with this stuff.
Millions.
If millions of lives, just no, we gotta get it to work. I'm going to put this kind of high. I think I'm gonna give this thing like a 4. I almost want to give it a 5, but I think I'm gonna come in at like a
Yeah.
4 on this, maybe like a 4.2, just because it's a one-it commodity, man. And when you have it, you are at the top, and you're hard to beat.
Yeah, you make a good point, dude, that it's such a, like you said, on its face, Wolverine has it, it's a Wolverine thing. But and we talked about it in the grand scheme of Marvel Comics, it's so widespread. It touches so many characters from Spider-Man, all your favorites, Spider-Man, the Avengers, of course the X-Men, even the Defenders, including Daredevil. Everybody is not only sought after this metal, but have felt its sting. You know what I'm saying? Have endured it. Thor has endured it. You know what I mean? And it's almost like you said, it almost has a mind of its own. It's almost like a symbiote. You know what I mean? Like on who will allow it to wield it. Like Thor's hammer in a weird way. Not everybody can get it just not through sheer necessity, but through sheer application and implementation. Some people just can't handle it. Like I was thinking about Omega Red, who was supposed to be made of adamantium, but they got the cheap cousin of it, which is carbondanium. Like the best value adamantium. I don't want to upset any Omega Red fans out there, but let's call a spade a spade. There's some bootleg adamantiums out there that just don't cut it. Like Titanium Man, who thought he was the shit until he fought Wolverine. Wolverine went skunk and he learned real quick what real metal is. You know what I mean? There's a lot of outliers. And adamantium is as synonymous with the X-Men as kryptonite is to Superman. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I would rate it. I'd say let's get Wash back. And I want to wait until he clicks back in here. But just more thoughts on why I'm going to rank it so high is because I think adamantium is just one of those metals, one of those things that just exists in the Marvel universe that branches so well, and applies to so many characters, especially our boy Wolverine, Deadpool, and of course, the rest of the weapons program. As Brian mentioned, his favorite user is Lady Deathstrike, whose claws are made of adamantium. You can literally see it jutting out of her skin because the implementation didn't take. So, with that, definitely would like to rate this one, if I had to give it from a scale from 0 claws out of 5 claws. There's an importance to all of Marvel. I think I'm going to match Brian's 4. Only because it's not the end all be all of Marvel in regards to items of lore. I think there's certain items in Marvel that get that coveted 5 out of 5. Like Captain America's shield is a 5 out of 5. lore defining, industry defining weapon. Captain Iron Man's armor is also a 5 out of 5. Um, just overall armor. I mean, overall item of lore. Whereas adamantium is more like a means to an end, and it's kind of not fair because we could do a lore on Wolverine's claws alone, and that'll be an object of lore. But adamantium into itself is a whole different conversation. Would Wolverine's claws rank higher than adamantium itself? That's a whole nother lore for a whole nother episode. But for this one, I'm going to give adamantium a solid 4. Brian conked out on us, unfortunately. We are having some strange weather here in the West Coast. So I think the internet just kind of died. But that's okay. We were able to get to the end of our episode. Here, we're going to go ahead and just I'm going to see if I can get Brian back and see if we can pick back up. If not, we can just close out the episode for this evening of MOTN lore. Just going to go ahead and thank everyone for watching. And we do lores almost every 2 months. We do a lore, just because we love doing it and we love interacting with you, the fans, and you, the followers of the Nerdiverse. So if you like this content, please remember to like our episodes, comment on our episodes. What do you think of adamantium? Do you think it ranks that high? What's your history with Wolverine? What's your history with the X-Men? And subscribe to our channel so that you know when new content is brought to the channel. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G. This has been MOTN Lore, and this will be MOTN out.